How self-help hijacked the lifelong learner. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. There is a quiet moment that marks the beginning of a conversion. A reader, who once devoured novels for pleasure, stops reading fiction. They reach instead for instruction. The bookshelf that once held story and imagination begins to fill with manuals for improvement, guides to mastery, blueprints for happiness. The transition looks harmless, even admirable. After all, who would criticize the pursuit of growth? Yet over time, something fundamental changes. The act of reading stops being an exploration of life and becomes a form of self-correction. Curiosity is replaced by conviction, and the reader is gradually rewritten by the very ideas they consume. From pleasure to purpose. For many, the shift begins innocently. An ambitious mind looks for insight in the language of psychology and performance. Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman and Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely offer credible frameworks that feel empowering. These books are grounded in evidence, accessible, and reassuringly rational. But the next titles on the shelf begin to change tone. Awaken the Giant Within by Anthony Robbins, The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer, and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill speak with a new certainty. They do not suggest or invite. They declare. The reader, who seeks understanding, is offered revelation instead. This is the trap of self-development. Once the reader accepts that insight is something to be installed rather than explored, every page becomes instruction. Reading becomes a kind of maintenance. Fiction no longer feels efficient enough. Pleasure is rebranded as laziness. The expert illusion. Intelligent people are particularly susceptible to this drift. The high achiever, the disciplined learner, the lifelong student are perfect converts. They already believe in study as virtue. But self-help does not teach, it persuades. It offers the sensation of comprehension without the responsibility of proof. A reader can learn the vocabulary of psychology and begin to sound like an expert long before they have earned that understanding. When someone reads Goleman and Ariely alongside Robbins, Dyer, and Hill, the mind starts blending their authority. The legitimate 10% of psychology infects the 90% of speculation around it. The confident tone of the pseudoscientist and the academic becomes indistinguishable. What remains is a single, unified voice promising control. The reader believes they have learned how the mind works, when in truth they have only memorized metaphors. Writing as indoctrination. Self-help culture encourages readers to take notes, highlight, and journal. It feels active and disciplined, the mark of serious learning. In reality, it is a technique of reinforcement. Every underlined sentence and transcribed passage acts as a small act of agreement. The reader is not studying, they are rehearsing belief. Books like Think and Grow Rich teach this openly. Hill's concept of autosuggestion instructs readers to repeat affirmations daily until belief hardens into certainty. Writing, in this system, becomes ritual. The notebook fills with instructions to the self, rarely reread because its purpose was never retention. It was indoctrination disguised as diligence. Over time, the mind begins to trust the process more than the content. The act of highlighting itself becomes a reward. The hand moves, the highlighter glides, and each line of text is quietly sanctified as truth. How real science becomes the Trojan horse. The danger is not the overt mysticism of the self-help shelf, it is the legitimacy borrowed from the few credible authors among them. Goleman's work on emotional intelligence, Ariely's on behavioral economics, Edelman's Change Your Thinking, and Deutsch's The Brain That Changes Itself are built on real research. But once stripped of context, their ideas become flexible tools for anyone with a message to sell. The self-help industry co-opts scientific language with evangelical ease. Robbins declares that people can rewire their brains. Dyer insists that thought alters reality. Louise Hay suggests disease is an expression of guilt. Each claim sounds plausible because the reader has heard of neuroplasticity or mind-body connection. The words are real, but their meaning has been hollowed out. Science becomes a talisman, proof by proximity. A small amount of knowledge makes the reader dangerous to themselves. They have just enough vocabulary to rationalize belief. The distinction between evidence and metaphor blurs, and soon it no longer matters whether a claim is true, only whether it feels empowering. The voice of authority. The defining trait of the self-help industry is its tone. Robbins, Dyer, Hill, and their modern inheritors Leonie Dawson, Denise Duffield Thomas, Sarah Prout, and Carol Look all speak with unwavering conviction. They do not discuss ideas, they deliver truths. Their confidence is hypnotic. It activates the part of the human brain that equates certainty with competence. The reader absorbs this rhythm and begins to mimic it, speaking with the same emphatic cadence. Language that once questioned now asserts. This is how belief turns into identity. Once someone speaks in the tone of the teacher, they no longer doubt what they are saying. They become both student and preacher of their own indoctrination. The coaching ecosystem. At this stage, the reader has become the perfect client for coaching and spiritual training. They have learned to equate confidence with credibility, emotion with insight, and growth with consumption. The industry knows this. Programs like Money Bootcamp by Duffield Thomas, The Amazing Life Workbooks by Dawson, and the Ultimate Intention Setting Process by Prout promise not knowledge, but identity. Participants are told they are doing the work and investing in themselves. What they are really doing is paying for validation that their worldview is enlightened. The coaching and manifestation industries thrive on this audience, intelligent and articulate believers who think they are becoming experts in human potential. Each new course reinforces the same central idea: growth equals belief. The disappearance of imagination. When fiction leaves the bookshelf, empathy follows. Fiction forces ambiguity. It asks readers to inhabit uncertainty, to see through others' eyes, to hold contradictions. Self-help cannot tolerate this. It offers clarity and hierarchy. You are either conscious or asleep, high vibration or low, abundant or blocked. The emotional vocabulary shrinks. Where a novel might have explored betrayal, guilt, or longing, the self-help reader learns to label these simply as negative energy. Complexity becomes pathology. The reader, who once sought to understand the world, now seeks only to correct it. The death of fiction is more than aesthetic loss. It marks the end of imagination as a moral practice. Without it, the world becomes binary, and people become projects. The disappearance of the reader. Eventually, the reader vanishes into the worldview. Their bookshelf becomes a mirror. Each book confirms what the last one said. Highlighted passages echo the same sentiment: you are powerful, you are special, you are evolving. But the more they read, the less they see. The world becomes a feedback loop of affirmation. Growth becomes performance. The act of questioning is rebranded as negativity. Outside the bookshelf, social media completes the echo chamber. Algorithms curate a steady feed of like-minded voices, coaches, spiritual influencers, and thought leaders, all repeating the same language of expansion and awakening. Dissenting views disappear. Complexity is replaced by consensus. Within these circles, imagination gives way to simulation. People begin to live inside a shared hallucination where belief is treated as knowledge and repetition as evidence. The community validates the narrative so completely that reality itself becomes negotiable. In that space, the reader ceases to be a reader at all. They become a participant in a collective story, one that rewards conviction over curiosity and promises enlightenment in exchange for conformity. Growth as rebranding. In this culture, growth no longer means maturity or empathy. It means adopting a worldview that explains discomfort as resistance and detachment as evolution. A broken relationship becomes evidence of awakening. Disagreement proves superiority. The more people question you, the more aligned you must be. The system rewrites pain into progress, isolation into clarity, and self-absorption into authenticity. This is why self-help and spirituality blend so easily with capitalism. Both reward endless expansion. Both sell the idea that who you are now is insufficient. The moment you stop consuming, you stop evolving. The machinery of certainty. The deeper someone travels into this ideology, the more they crave certainty. It becomes an emotional dependency. Certainty soothes. It erases doubt, complexity, and contradiction. It provides the illusion of control in a chaotic world. And certainty sells. The self-help market survives on bold promises precisely because real growth cannot make them. A genuine psychologist tells you that change is slow, messy, and unpredictable. A coach tells you it is instant, available, and guaranteed. The difference is morality disguised as method. The expert says it's complicated. The guru says you've already got the answer. One requires humility, the other rewards faith. The psychology of reassurance. Self-development appeals to the part of the human psyche that fears insignificance. It tells people their struggles are meaningful, their failures are lessons, their potential infinite. The message is seductive because it offers redemption without consequence. Yet beneath the slogans about mindset and manifestation lies a harsher truth: this kind of growth is narcissistic. It converts everything, pain, love, loss, into raw material for self-importance. It allows people to moralize their own self-absorption. The result is a culture where introspection replaces empathy and self-improvement replaces understanding. The real meaning of growth. Real growth is far less glamorous. It does not come from perfect alignment or quantum leaps. It comes from tension, contradiction, and relationships that refuse to fit neatly into a framework. Real growth is slow and often humiliating. It does not promise transcendence, it demands humility. It is found in the very kind of reading that the self-help convert abandoned: the novel, the biography, the essay that refuses to give answers. Those are the books that teach empathy, not certainty. They do not improve you, they humanize you. The moment of silence. If you ask a true believer in self-development when they last read a novel for pleasure, there will be a pause. It is not that they stopped enjoying stories. It is that stories stopped serving them. Fiction cannot be monetized or mastered. It offers no frameworks, no affirmations, no 5-step plan. It asks for surrender. That silence is the sound of a mind that has been disciplined out of wonder. What was lost? The reader, who once read for curiosity, has become a disciple of self-improvement. The joy of discovery has been replaced by the discipline of belief. The bookshelf has turned into a syllabus of certainty. The tragedy is not ignorance, but confidence. They now believe they understand the human condition because they have read hundreds of books about it. Yet the very thing that once made them intelligent, curiosity, has been reclassified as inefficiency. In this transformation, the self-help industry achieves its greatest victory. It convinces bright, capable people that indoctrination is learning, repetition is growth, and certainty is wisdom. The mind, once open and inquisitive, closes around its own conviction and calls it enlightenment.